Not I.
I do not.
I'll give them one more minute. All right, we're ready. Go ahead and run the graphic, sir. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the February 1st NCH City Council meeting. We will start, as always, with our prayer for the NCH City Council. God our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this council of North College Hill to make good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us all to do the very best we can. With your help and guidance, we pray this in your name. Amen. Call this meeting to order. Can you get a shot of the flag there, sir? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, this is the first meeting in February 1st, regular council meeting for the city of North College Hill. Ms. DeWald, please call the roll.
Miss Bailey. Miss Blythe. Miss Underwood. Present. Mr. Miller Novak.
Present.
Miss Zorb. Miss Hartman.
Here.
And Miss Anderson.
Here.
Mr. President, I show that Miss Bailey and Miss Blythe are not present.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, you should have before you tonight's agenda.
Mr. President,
Mr. Miller Novak.
I don't mind moving to approve the agenda, but or we can entertain any motions to excuse our two absent members.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'm game. I'll motion to excuse Miss Blythe and Miss Bailey.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion. Sorry, I was trying to make the motion, but my dog was whining in the background. My bad.
That's okay, Ms. Anderson. Don't let it happen again. All right, motion from Matt Miller, Mr. Miller Novak, second from Ms. Anderson to excuse Ms. Blythe and Ms. Bailey from tonight's meeting. Any discussion? Go back and redo your motion, Mr. Miller Novak. Ms. Blythe just walked in. She's heading this way.
Oh, okay. Well then, I guess I motion to excuse Ms. Bailey from tonight's meeting.
Mr. President, I'll second the motion.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? All right, please call the roll.
Ms. Blythe,
This is a motion to excuse Ms. Bailey from tonight's meeting.
Sure.
Said yes.
Yes, because I'm late.
thank you. Ms. Underwood,
Thank you.
Ms. Underwood. Miss Underwood.
I apologize.
This is to excuse Miss Bailey.
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak.
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
and Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to excuse Miss Bailey passes 6-0.
Thank you, Ms. DeWald. All right, so you do have tonight's agenda.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
I redid the agenda, and the original one had the US Census and the communications part. And when I redid the agenda to add a resolution, for some reason I didn't. So anyway, communications tonight should have the US Census that I'm going to report on and the mayor's court report. So I don't know if they want to make changes to their agenda.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
instead of going through all that rigmarole, can we just have that as communication?
I believe we can.
All right, then to make this as brief as possible. I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Mr. President, I'll second the motion.
Motion for Ms. Zorb, second for Ms. Anderson to adopt tonight's agenda. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yeah.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
and Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adopt passes 6-0.
Thank you, ma'am. Next on the agenda is the minutes from our previous two meetings. Regular meeting on January 19th and a special meeting on January 25th.
Mr. President, I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Just for future knowledge, can you adopt two different meeting minutes with the same motion?
I believe we can.
Okay, then I move that we adopt minutes from meeting January 19th and the meeting from January 25th.
Mr. President, I will second that motion.
Motion by Ms. Anderson, second by Ms. Zorb to adopt the minutes from both the January 19th and January 25th council meetings. Any discussion? Ms. DeWald, please call the roll.
One moment. Okay, Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adopt both meeting minutes, the 19th of January and the 25th of January passes 6-0.
All right, thank you, ma'am. When you are ready, you are next on the agenda with communications.
So we have two pieces of communication. One is the Census Bureau recognizes the city of North College Hill for their efforts in making the program a success and helping to achieve a successful 2020 census. So we received that. And then also, you received late in the day because I just was not in full commission today. The mayor's court report came to you all through email. So you'll have that in your email. And if you need a hard copy, just let me know.
Thank you, Ms.
And that's all I
DeWald.
have.
Mr. President,
Ms. Ord?
Ms. DeWald, could I ask, was there any kind of statistics or anything that was presented with that census report or census recognition?
Yeah,
Or was it
no,
just-
yeah, sadly, there's not. So, because I would have liked to have seen the numbers.
Right.
So whatever it was, we must have reached the percentage that makes it us a successful city, and what that percentage is, I don't know.
Okay. Thank you. So they only gave us half the story is what I'm hearing.
If you even want to call it half. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for our clerk? All right, moving down the agenda to our council committees, starting with finance.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zord?
in lieu of Ms. Bailey, the chair of finance, I'm the vice chair, so I believe we have not met since our last council meeting. Everything's fuzzy to me, but I don't believe we've met.
You're correct.
Thank you.
Your next meeting is a week from today on February 8th, correct?
That is correct.
At 7:30.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the City and Community Development and Recreation.
Hi, I'm vice chair, and since our chair's not here, I'll go ahead and say the same thing. We haven't met since our last meeting. Our next meeting is a week from today on February 8th at 6:30.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
You're welcome.
Is that your first official vice chair duties, correct?
Yeah, and just for the record, I made my first motion tonight too. Big day for me.
Not that we're keeping track, correct?
I didn't write it in my journal or anything.
Thank you very much. All right, next up is public safety.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met on January 25th at 7:30 p.m. Most of what we talked about was the fire levy. So Chief Fells had a presentation, and even though we started our meeting late, he went through in great detail the numbers for the fire levy, and he also discussed just what the money would be used for if the fire levy were to pass, which hopefully it does. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank Chief Fells for spending so much time to make that presentation to us, even considering, how late our meeting did get started. That's pretty much what we talked about during the entirety of the meeting. We kind of talked about the pros and the cons, and many of the members of the committee wanted an opportunity to further discuss it. So for the moment, fire levy is still in our committee, but we do plan to have a special meeting because we are mindful that we're on a timeline that we have to meet. So that the chair, who is me, is going to schedule a special meeting for this particular committee. The meeting was actually adjourned at 9:22 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Your next meeting would be February 22nd, correct?
Correct.
Minus special meetings. All right, thank you. Next is rules and public policy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our last meeting was Monday, January 25th at 6:30 p.m. We talked about the Prospect Place legislation. Ms. Hall did have some limited information about this project. The members had several questions about this particular piece of legislation. Mr. Mosby did join the call at some point to kind of answer some of our questions, but several of the members mentioned that they wanted to kind of think about some further questions that they might have. So I just recommended that the legislation, well, the consensus was that we move this piece of legislation to the council agenda. And then if we had some further questions from Mr. Mosby, we would ask those questions. And this was the Prospect Place legislation, if I didn't mention that before. We also talked about, with regard to old business, the Surface Pro legislation, and I am going to follow up on that resolution to make sure that that gets done. Mr. Miller Novak talked to us about legislative procedure, and just he talked about red line documents and how they work. And he also talked about stale legislation, and he really went into some significant detail about how we need to, as a council, do a better job of communicating with our law director, who actually is our attorney. He represents us. And then he suggested that as a committee, we develop some do's and don'ts when we're dealing with the law director. So as an action item, of course, we're going to create a process to communicate with the law director that we, obviously we plan to follow, and we would expect him to follow as well. This meeting was adjourned at 7:17 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. All right, next up would be any ad hoc reports. Are there any ad hoc reports?
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
sorry.
Ms. Zorb, go ahead.
I would just like to put out a little news blast from the Chamber of Commerce. Apparently, I'm going to read this because otherwise I'll mess it up. Governor DeWine and Lieutenant Governor Houston unveiled a plan of more than $1 billion targeted to strengthen and grow Ohio communities and small businesses. So obviously it's still a proposal, it's still a plan, but that sounds like some really good news, as a lot of businesses suffered dearly from the whole COVID-19 fiasco. So pandemic, I mean, that's the word I wanted to use. So anyhow, good news, and hopefully some businesses in our area can apply for the grants and get some financial help. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Zorb.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
the CIC met last week, and we talked a lot about, we actually had a presentation from a gentleman who talked in detail about a potential development coming to North College Hill, where they would build single family homes and also invest in trying to make the downtown better, with regard to businesses and that kind of thing. It was a very significant presentation. We also, think what else happened. That was pretty much it. But the CIC, we just, we talked about how we really want to encourage home ownership in North College Hill, because we just feel as a committee that that maybe if people own homes in our community, maybe there'll be like a higher level of pride with regard to just the appearance of the committee or the appearance of the community and that kind of thing. So that is pretty much what we talked about.
I thank you, Ms. Underwood. Any other reports? As I hear none, we'll move on to administrative reports. Good evening, Madam Mayor. The floor is yours. You are still muted, ma'am.
I'm having issues. I hit it 3 times. I'm sorry.
That is better.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to piggyback off of what Ms. Zorb said and then what Ms. Underwood said. I did hear about the funds as well. And I'm not sure if it's similar to one that they had earlier in the year, but I do know one of our business owners here was a recipient of some money, the grant money for Miss Kimberly Stewart for her dance studio at one time when they did a round of money for small businesses. So she did benefit from that. And what Ms. Underwood mentioned about CIC, there's a lot of things that have been discussed within CIC and the home ownership for new homeowners coming in. And the presentation was really good, just the ideas. And the ideas, this is North College Hill, it's not Blue Ash. So, but we want to attract people who want to be here. So one of the things that we discussed is that the Planning Commission and the CIC will get together and have a joint meeting to see what ideas they can come up for the betterment of the city. So I'm looking forward to that, just so those two committees can pull their ideas together. One of the other things that I had, I just wanted to mention that I hope all of you saw the vetoes that I sent out to you. I believe I sent them on January 28th. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me those. And the last thing I wanted to do was during the presentation from Fire Chief at the safety meeting, there's an email that was set up for any residents or anyone who has any questions to ask about the fire levy. Those emails will go directly to Chief Fells, and he will answer those questions. The email is firelevy2021@northcollegehill.org. Again, firelevy2021@northcollegehill.org. If you have any questions, please send your questions there to that email and they will get answered. Thank you, Mr. President. That's all I have.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any questions for the mayor? Next on the agenda is the city administrator's report. I do not see Mr. Mosby on here.
He will not be in attendance this evening. I'm sorry.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, the law director's report. Mr. Dieters, do you have anything?
Mr. Graber, I do not have anything this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dieters. Next is the finance director's report. Ms. Hall, do you have anything to report?
Good evening. I do not have anything to report this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. That'll bring us to call of members. So we will start with Ms. Blythe.
Yes, I had 2 points. When we were at our last meeting regarding the fire levy, I remember that one of the council members, they asked Chief Fells to please email us the document, the table that he presented on. The last time I checked my email may have been 4:30 today, and I had not received that table in an email. So just questioning where, and he may have forgot because it was such a long meeting. And then my other thing, I'll make it really quick. I do have some questions further down in the meeting. But it's regarding a Prospect Place. As far as emergencies goes, in 2018, we had an issue whether we should repair the roof or half the roof or the full roof. And this was declared an emergency. And I've been thinking about loans, and I'm wondering, is the loan for Prospect Place, is that the best way to go about that? Especially when we have street levies money to repair. I know it was mentioned that the levy money would be used to pay off the loan, but I was just thinking, why not just put it ahead of the other streets and just avoid the loan? Because we could have any type of emergencies come up in the next 20 years. And I think that we should be financially prepared for those. And then, and my other just option was, if this street is so important, I'm not sure why, then we could maybe put it ahead of the other streets, get it repaired, and then we would not have to take out a loan. And then 2 questions for when we discuss this is, why is Prospect Place more of a priority than other streets in North College Hill? Why does it require, or why are we requesting a loan to repair this street and no other street? And then a very important question, I guess Mr. Mosley would answer this. What are the rules and stipulations to determine the priority for street repair? As in, how does the city determine which street has the most priority? Who's coming first? Who's coming last? So those were just my 2 questions. Looking for the fire levy table and some further discussion and questions on Prospect Place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blythe.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is Ms. Underwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, Chief Fells sent that table on January 25th. It was my mistake because I thought that he had sent it to all of council, but apparently he just sent it to me. So Ms. Blythe, that's my mistake, because when you said that, I was like, wait, he sent that right away. So I went and looked in my email and realized that he just sent it to me. So I am going to forward that to all the members of council. I apologize. I honestly just looked at the title of the email. I didn't really look to see who it was sent to.
Ms. Underwood, I'm sorry, I have it up. Would you like me to send it?
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine.
You sure? I mean, I have everybody's name out, so.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor. Yes, because I all I did was, I was like, wait, I remember getting that email from him, and you know, Chief Fells is very, you know, just kind of on that point. I would like to tell everyone on council that Chief Fells is very receptive. And so I really encourage anybody who has any questions about how the fire department is being run, how he spends money, what is going on at the fire department. I really would encourage you to go and have a one-on-one meeting with Chief Fells. And what I would also like to point out is that there are some things that I can't share in this forum with you, that, you know, if you go have a one-on-one meeting with Chief Fells, then you would, you know, there's information that you would receive from him. So I really do encourage everyone to just kind of reach out to the chief. Also, what I would like to tell you about our fire chief is that, you know, without any prompting or without anybody requesting it, he constantly fills out grant applications for our fire department. And of those grants have, he's actually received some of those grants for several key pieces of equipment for the fire department. He works very hard. And I do want to just acknowledge again what a good job he does as the fire chief, and he's a very good steward of the resources that we provide for him. So again, I would just implore the other members of City Council just to reach out to him directly to talk to him about the fire department. Other than that, I would just I think that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Mr. Miller Novak, you're up.
I have nothing to report today.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Zorb?
I have nothing also.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Hartman?
I have nothing as well.
Ms. Anderson?
Hi guys. Just really quickly, the North Cultural Food Pantry is in need of like Kroger like grocery bags, and tomorrow I'll be going up and dropping some off up at the school. So if anybody has any that they want to be taken up, if you guys want to text or email me, or if any other citizens that are watching want to email me, I can take them up for you tomorrow. But that's all. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
just to clarify, are you talking about, for lack of a better term, the little plastic Kroger bags, or do you want the reusable bags?
Yeah, I think they're taking both, honestly. I'm just going to take up like the plastic, like Kroger bags, the disposable ones.
I have a ton.
Oh, if you want to text me, I'll grab them from your house.
All right.
I'll do all the work.
Even better.
Thank you.
Awesome. Sure. Thank you. Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
beg forgiveness. I did forget that I have one thing for call members. May I? Father, may I please? What is that? Mother, may I?
I guess
sorry.
If Ms. Anderson is finished, then yes, I will allow it.
I give my time to Miss Zorb.
Don't give your time to her.
Oh, never mind.
I will backtrack to you, Ms. Zorb.
Thank you. I neglected to point out that I want to give huge kudos, props to our clerk. Our minutes are stellar. They are. I can't say thank you enough for our minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Actually, Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
as we're bouncing around, not violating all kinds of rules today, I would also like to say that our clerk has done a phenomenal job with the minutes. The minutes from that special meeting were so detailed, and they're always very detailed. And so it's very clear that she does she works very hard to put our minutes together. So thank you so much, Mr. Wald, for everything that you do for us. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you for appreciating hard work, but it kind of suits my personality. I can't help myself.
Ms. DeWald and I just had a phone conversation recently regarding this, and there is a novel in her future. All right, thank you. So just one last thing. I just want to reflect back on our last meeting in regards to the changes that we had discussed around the law director and that position and the salary ranges and all those things. And I just want to say that I was very disheartened after that meeting, after the hours we spent in meetings and special meetings and executive sessions and discussions. Mr. Miller Novak, on our behalf, and the time he spent negotiating and working with Mr. Dieters on things. I just, we talk about wanting to see change and to see things be better. And I think we had an opportunity there, and after all of that work, we just went back to the way things used to be. So I am hoping that we will continue to push forward and not settle. So,
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I just want to piggyback on what you just said. Mr. Miller Novak did take a significant amount of time talking to our committee about how, as a council, we can most effectively communicate with our law director, who is also our attorney. So, that is something that the Rules and Public Policy Committee is going to follow up on, just for your information. That's something that we intend to follow up on, and we will work with Mr. Dieters to try to develop some guidelines hopefully to make things better.
All right, thank you. That will take us into legislation when you are ready, Ms. Dewald.
We have a first reading on Resolution 7, 2021, a resolution declaring the official intent and reasonable expectation of the City of North College Hill on behalf of the state of Ohio, the borrower, to reimburse its, I don't know why that's a blank line there, but its fund for the Prospect Place improvements CB36X with the proceeds of tax exempt debt of the state of Ohio. We have
Mr. President.
Ms. Underwood.
I know that several members from my committee had questions about this piece of legislation. I just wanted to kind of encourage those members at this point. Is it okay if they ask Ms. Hall or Mayor Nichols questions about that piece of legislation?
I mean, in Mr. Mosby's absence, we can see if anyone does have answers to any of those questions. Yes.
Mr. President.
Go ahead, Ms. Ord.
I certainly don't want to discourage Ms. Hall or Ms. Nichols from responding to that, but they were in the meeting and provided input at the meeting. I think from my perspective, I need to hear a kind of, to reiterate what Ms. Bly said, I need to hear why Prospect Place is for taking a priority. Why do we need to take out a loan versus just put it in the regular order and have it done in like on the regular street turnover basis? And I've never heard the answer why it has to be a priority. So I guess until I hear that, it's still just lingering in my head. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes, that was my first question.
Ms. Nichols.
If I could just give a little insight, I do know that there is a water issue on Prospect Place. I cannot tell you which area of the street where the flooding or the water issue takes place. From after having another conversation with Mr. Mosby, I believe it's because the amount of money that they had was enough to cover that street. So for instance, let's say if it were my street could have possibly been my street's already been done a few years ago, but it could have cost more than it would cost to cover the amount of money that they had set aside for the loan. Why it has to be a loan, I guess that is a question for Mr. Mosby, but I do know when you said what was the issues, there is some water issues on that street, which makes it more of a priority to get that taken care of. I'm sure there are other streets, but I don't know what the cost to do those other streets are. And unfortunately, I don't have it with me as my desk at the city. They give out a sheet every year. We met at the beginning of last year, and they gave a whole list of the streets and the order in which they would be done. I guess with the passing of, I'm sorry, I can't get his name out. Everything is a little off, so we haven't met with them this year yet. So they do give a list of the streets and what it costs to do each street and who covers what and why it's covered. The last conversation I was not privy to. Maybe that's something, Mr. Mosby was in contact with them when it came to Prospect. So I don't know that any of that answered any of your questions, probably not, but that was the last information I was given.
And
When
Mr.
you say-
President.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Ms. Blythe.
And then the second question was, let me read it because I rambled too much. What are the rules or the stipulations that determine the priority for street repairs? I mean, how do they get their priority? What do we use? Is it because one street is more raggedy or more potholes than the other? But how do we get the priority of high, medium, and low to determine which streets are first versus later on?
I'm really not sure how they determine. I do know that they go through and they survey the different streets of what needs to be done. I will not rely on my memory. I can see the page, but I can't remember the order in which it ran. And it went up to a couple of years, last year, this year. Might be mistaken if I say next year, but I honestly, that question is for Mr. Mosby. I'm not sure how they determine exactly which streets to do.
Mr. President,
Ms. Hall.
so Ms. Blythe, in my experience, how streets are determined to be like the order in which they are fixed, there are multiple factors that go into that. Some factors do include the deterioration of the road, as well as other factors. So when we work with our engineers, they come up, they survey the streets and they come up with the list. And based on funding options, streets are prioritized in that way. So while yes, we have our levy fund, this opportunity to utilize the interest-free loan was allowing us to free up some of the money that we have in the levy fund to be able to complete the projects that we've had scheduled for 2021 and whatever is scheduled going out into 2022 as well. So that's usually the reason why cities go about it these ways, so that we're not utilizing all of our funding all at once. We can still take on multiple projects and kind of pay over time. So that way we are not exhausting all of our funds. It's kind of just a way of making sure that we are fiscally responsible for the money that we've been entrusted with. So,
Ms. Hall, another question. From the last meeting, I'll probably email my letter to council, but from the last meeting, it was mentioned that we would be using levy funds to pay off the loan. It seems like for $430,700, for a 20-year loan, it would be about $1,800 a month for the loan. So my question is, are we using the levy funds for the $1,800 a month, or are we going to use general funds? I mean, how will we be paying on this 20-year loan?
it is exactly as you
$1,800?
stated. It is, yes, it's exactly as you stated and how we stated in the last meeting, that the loan will be repaid with street levy money, because that is what the street levy is earmarked for. Monies will not come out of the general fund to repay the loan. So, that's kind of what our levy is for. And instead of, just so you know, our levy receives about $400,000 every year. So if you think about us paying upfront $400,000, that means we can't do any other road. We would only do that one road in 2021. But in 2021, we're doing Sundale, Galbraith, Goodman. I want to say Hamilton Avenue is going to, I think we're doing that one as well as Prospect. So this is why I'm stating that we sometimes take grant money as well as interest-free loans when they come available, so that way we can get more done with what our citizens are, you know, are paying for. So
The other question is, if you start with Prospect as a loan, and the next year you pick another street as a loan, aren't we technically running up, you know, $1,800 a month bill? Then we'll get another loan for $3,600. What I was stating in my statement is, I don't understand the concept of a loan if it's not an emergency or something very important, like deciding if you're going to fix a full roof. Or so my thing is, I don't think we should get tied up with so many street loans when we have a levy, when emergencies could come up, like roofs. Or I think someone mentioned at a previous meeting that the park on Betts, its roof needs repair. So I'm just trying to say we shouldn't prioritize streets as emergencies when we're going to have emergencies in the future. That's all. I just don't understand why it's a priority to start making loans out of streets when, like we said, like I mentioned, we can do Prospect this year with the loan money. So that was just my opinion, but I'll end up just emailing my letter to council, so at least they'll have it in writing and just see what some of my thoughts are on the loan. Thank you.
okay, well, just to answer your question real quickly, just so you know, we cannot use street levy money to fix a roof. We cannot use street levy money on a fire truck. That money is earmarked exclusively for the roads. So
I understand.
yeah, so if something comes up for the roof, it wouldn't hinder us in a sense from paving our roads. We would take that from a different bucket of money.
Or we might need to take out a different specified loan. And I do realize that a roof and a street would be out of different funds and they would be two different loans. Yes, I do realize that. Thank you.
Ms. Zorb, did you have something?
No, I'm good. She kind of covered it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next legislation, Ms. DeWalt.
We have a second reading on Resolution 4, a resolution authorizing the City of North College Hill to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or Local Transportation Improvement Program or programs, and to execute contracts as required. Second reading. We have a second reading on Resolution 5, 2021, a resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded in 2021 and declaring an emergency. We have a second reading on Ordinance 1, 2021, an ordinance to establish a North College Hill Home Buyers Assistance Fund titled the Down Payment Assistance Fund numbered 206. And that's all we have for legislation.
All right, thank you, Ms. DeWald. Next item on the agenda is comments from the audience. There's no one in the room and I see no one online. So we'll move to old business. Hearing no old business, we'll move to new business.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I don't know if this is the appropriate place for this or not, But I do have a question for the mayor regarding the veto on the law director line item. And I guess I'm trying to understand where you're going with this, because I guess I'm lost and I'm not following it. Is your intent to have the salary range put back into legislation?
Mr. President,
Madam Mayor.
My feelings are similar with Mr. Gravers. I think a lot of time was put into it. And just as I stated in my reasoning for the veto, I believe that if you want different results, you have to do things to lead up to that. So we want different things, or council has said they want different things from Mr. Dieters, but the actions for that were not there. So when you read the legislation, it even states some things. It states that there's a range. There was no range in the ordinance. We discussed things in executive session, but we still get to the floor and we make a change to somebody's salary. I just think that if you want different results, you have to do things differently. And Mr. Miller Novak, in fact, did spend a lot of time talking to Mr. Dieters. And I don't think that the opportunity has been presented to Mr. Dieters in order for him to do the things or the changes, the expectations that council has of him. I don't think the opportunity was given. So I don't know if that meant another meeting with him. So when you say a range, there is no range. The ordinance says, I don't have it in front of me and I apologize, that the ranges were set, and it even talked about a pay. It even talked about with an employment agreement or something being signed. The ordinance was passed, but you only changed one section in the ordinance. You didn't even take out the section that talked about a pay range. There was no pay range. There was no pay range.
I understand. So again, I'm going to ask, is your issue that there is not a range, or is your issue that that line is still on the document and we should have stricken that line out also?
It's not necessarily, Ms. Zorb, that there's not a range. I just believe that there should be some other type of agreement, because if you're not happy with the results that you're getting and you say we want something or we expect something different, so it's almost like you kept it at the same salary, the same rate, and you weren't expecting anything different from the job description. So in a nutshell, if you want more from Mr. Dieters or whomever's in that position, then we need to pay them more. There needs to be a range for the work that they do. There was one 30 to 50, then 50 to 60. So if your one range is the 30 to 50, these are the items that he said would cover between the 30, and I hate to say he or she would cover in between that 30 to 50 range. And then from the 50 to 60, these are the things that are covered between that 50 and 60. I think that opportunity should have been granted to do the job descriptions within that 30 to 60. So it's not that that portion is there. And it's the issue for me was that I don't believe that the opportunity was given for the job description to change and for us to expect or to get different results.
So I have had a conversation with Mr. Dieters on another topic, but a similar topic about a month ago. The way he expressed it to me was, if there is a veto of a line item, and if council does nothing with that, it goes back to the last passed document. So with that said, even if council does nothing, his salary would still go back to the last passed document, which is the same exact dollar amount that's in there.
And I would hope the council does something and not do anything.
Well, I would hope that there was some accountability with it, but that never happened either, which is kind of what got us into this pickle to begin with.
Some accountability with,
I feel like he was not held accountable to what was expected of him for this dollar amount.
okay. As you said, I don't know that this is the place to have that conversation. And then if you felt that he didn't, he wasn't held accountable, there was an opportunity with the new agreement for him to be held accountable, which is what I said in the veto.
There is no accountability in
nutshell.
that document. I've read it repeatedly. There's no accountability.
And the document that he gave,
And even in even in your veto, it says he/she should be compensated for his or her services. There's no, you use the word should instead of shall, so there's still no accountability even in the veto.
okay.
Is there any other new business?
President,
Ms. Underwood?
assuming there's no other new business, I'm not hearing anything. I would like to move that we adjourn this meeting.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
Motion to adjourn by Ms. Underwood, second by Ms. Anderson. Please call the roll.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn passes 6-0.
All right, thank you, everyone. This meeting is adjourned.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Good night.